What's going on, guys? Welcome back to yet another current situation video. Today I want to give you a little bit of an educational video. I haven't done one of those in a while, and the fishing hasn't been all too hot. I've been trying to get out there more. I haven't really had the time, and the fish just haven't been biting the times we went. So I need to give y'all some content. So I want to give you a little bit of an educational video about how I fish flats, what baits I use, what time I go, what areas I hit on the certain flats, when I use certain baits. We're gonna hopefully be able to go over all of that today. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Before we get started, I want to say thank you for all of the support on this channel. It's been a dream of mine to make content for people like y'all, so I thank you so much for clicking on today's video, and I hope you guys learned some good stuff about flats. Let's get into it. First off, I want to talk about flats. Some of you may be asking, what is a flat? A flat, in my perspective, is a saltwater, almost sandbar or shallow area in an inshore area. Flat, which means flat ground, usually sand with patches of grass that can stretch miles or maybe just a couple hundred yards. These flats are pristine for many species such as trout, redfish, sometimes snook, flounder, tarpon will roam them too. It's just a good area for fish to be moving around looking for bait. Now, you may be asking, what spots do I hit on certain flats, because you don't want to be throwing it straight sand. The thing about flats is that sometimes they're extremely shallow and you can sight cast, meaning you can visibly see the fish when you were searching on a flat and cast at them and try and get them to bite. But what I do is I try and hit grass patches, areas that are covered in grass. What I mean by grass, I mean seaweed under the water that's sticking up with patches of sand around it. These grass beds provide natural hiding spots for these fish to wait for bait, such as shrimp, little pilchard stuff to swim by and for them to attack them. It's just a good hiding spot for these fish, and they really do target that. Now, other than that, casting at sand can be good, but I'd much rather cast in these little grass patches where they hide. Now, moving on to some baits. Starting off with live bait rigs, what I like to use is obviously sometimes free casting. These are must add 4/0 size circle hooks, just a circle hook on a leader, live shrimp. Free line it out there, let the current take it. Sometimes fish will find that. That's one of my #1 rigs. Rig number 2, one of these, but with a popping cork. For those who don't know what a popping cork is, it's basically a bobber with rattles and an abnormal shape that when you smack it, when you pull your line tight, it creates a popping sound, hence the name. I'll put a picture up right now. These popping corks work very good for casting over open water. That popping sound really makes noise, which grabs the fish's attention and makes them move towards the weight, because it sounds like a fish busting on bait, which gets other fish's attention. So that is a really good bait for covering open water. Now, as for artificial, I like on flats to use more shrimp profiles. This is the NLBN 3N shrimp in their amber alert color. I have caught trout on this and black drum. I'll put a video of that now.
Tell you what, Summit, that rod back there goes off with a crab on it, you can have it.
Got him.
Nice. There you go, Summit.
Let's go.
Let's go, dude.
That was fun.
Nice, dude.
They're scaring them, dude. Got one. Oh, out that black drum, guys. Awesome fish, dude. Right here, I'll show you all the bait. 3-inch NLBN shrimp caught that massive drum, dude. What a fight. All right, let's get this guy going. Need him to kick off really well. There he goes. Boom, baby. So these baits do work on flats. Shrimp are a very pristine bait on the flats. Shrimp, pilchards, finger mullet, all those things will roam the flats, and that's why fish like to target them. So shrimp presentations are, I would say, vital. Z-Man, prawn stars, gulp shrimp, almost a lot of shrimp presentations will work, especially those top companies. But my favorite is definitely the NLBN 3-inch shrimp. I use it a lot. I'm hopefully going to be able to use it more to catch some more fish on those flats. For shrimp, how I like to work the bait is shrimp naturally move slow. They are not a fast-moving creature in the ocean. They're usually calm and slow-moving unless provoked. For these baits, instead of reeling it fast as you would the paddle tail, I like to work these slow with a few bumps to make the fish feel as if they are ambushing this shrimp. We want it to seem like this shrimp has no idea there's a fish hunting it, so when they attack it, they think it's clueless, but we actually got them on the clueless. So I like to do just a slow little bump, like literally just rise, let it fall, bump, bump. So that thing is going to come up and down, just like a shrimp moving in the current. Sometimes it might look like it's feeding on bottom, and this will make the fish seem like a clueless little shrimp is rolling around its territory, and it will just absolutely crush it. So that's how I would work this way. Now, say you don't have many shrimp in your area and you have more pilchards, greenbacks, little more fish like bait around your area. I have right here the NLBN 3-inch paddle tail with a 3/8 ounce jig head. This jig head allows me to get casting distance, but it doesn't sink and ride the bottom too fast, which is why I really like this weight. Now, paddle tails provide a very good stable kicking action in the water, which makes it very natural imitation of a bait fish. Now, you can use other paddle tails such as Z-Man paddle tails, DOA paddle tails, all those things will work. My favorite, of course, is again the no live bait needed 3-inch paddle tail for searching those flats, especially if I'm seeing like glass minnows and pilchards starting around. Sometimes they get blown up on. I like to throw this in that area and it usually gets chewed. As for the way I reel it in, I like to go constant reel and give it like constant 2 bumps. As you can see, that's what I've done in past videos, got them bit on some trout. Keep it constantly moving to give that fish more of a reaction bite than actually time to think about it. You want this fish to see this, go bump, bump, be like that's an injured bait fish, and just attack it. That's what you want. Say you're fishing a flat in, say, back country or surrounded by mangroves, and you have a lot of finger mullet or maybe even bigger mullet that are just everywhere. You've got snook, redfish, sometimes trout chasing them, really whatever. What I like to do is I would throw the NLBN 4-inch mini mullet, or you could throw the NLBN 5-inch little mullet. Really depends on the caliber of mullet that are around and if and when those fish and the size of the fish that are actually biting. I see here I have the 4-inch and here I have the 5-inch, both for different caliber size. This is definitely more quantity over quality. A lot of fish will bite this more, but you can't guarantee if they're big or not. This size bait will weed out majority of the smaller catches. You can get some big ones, but you're not going to have the same quantity as you would the 4-inch mullet. You can use baits such as the Z-Man Mulletron. Those work very well on flats. Just casting that into open water, that natural kicking tail would really get the work in. Savage Gear mullet, really natural looking, really realistic, does get a lot of bites. So baits such as those, again, you've got Z-Man Mulletron, Savage Gear, and NLBN mullets. Those work very well for areas that are with mullet. Now, I want to be talking about how I work these baits. Now, how I would work this is, since you can see this one, rather than the Z-Man and Savage Gear, this one has more of a straight tail, not a heavier paddle tail action. So for this, I almost want to skirt it like a fluke. I want to let that thing look like it's scattering across the surface, scared of something that's hunting it. So you've seen snook before, like when snook dive at mullet, you see those mullet dart everywhere and they go frantic. That's exactly what we want to do here. So almost like you're fishing a fluke in bass fishing. If you haven't, that's okay. I'll show you what I mean. What you want to do is you want to just reel and just keep bumping your rod. So that thing keeps going like this. That mullet is going to dart in all sorts of directions depending on the water depth, where it's at on the surface. And that is just going to make it look like a mullet going absolute bonkers. And that is what you want. That is what gets the reaction out of the fish. As for the bigger ones, I like to do the same thing, but sometimes I like to give it a twitch fast, and then just let it sink to make it look like it's an injured mullet who can't move too fast. Because sometimes the bigger mullet are usually faster, but if you give it a little bit of a pause, it has an injured look, which makes it more vulnerable to predators such as snook. So that is how I work the mullets. Now, moving into time zones and what baits I would use in certain times, starting with morning. Morning, the bite's usually hot. I like to do is, again, throw that popping cork, because they will do like top water. Getting that top water sound really gets those fish active and really gets them zoned in as to where the bite's at. So for the morning, definitely popping cork with live shrimp, or throwing around, again, a mullet bait or a slightly higher surface bait, something that's going to ride on the top, because again, the water temperatures are not as high in the morning. Those fish are going to be wanting to be more active, of course, during the morning, as fishermen know. So a top surface bait such as a light mullet like this, scattering it on the top like a fluke, could get smoked. But again, old reliable live shrimp will also work. Now, going into midday, the bite is going to slow down, but that does not mean you cannot get a fish on the flats. Pop and cork will always work during the day. As long as you have a longer leader and you're fishing a little bit deeper water on these flats, having a longer leader down there with the pop and cork makes those fish not want to come up to the more higher temperature surface, and they're able to stay down low but still get the juicy shrimp that they want to eat and still allowing us to get some more hookups. I would also, during the middle of the day, I do like to throw the paddle tails. Again, even though it's middle of the day, sometimes that faster action just gets a reaction out of them and they just want to quick react because free food, they can never really deny that. But again, during the middle of the day, the bite is going to be slower, it's going to be harder, so I would most likely stick with live bait unless you really know what you're doing, really dialed in. You can try these paddle tails. Now, afternoon, sun's going down, temperatures are lowering, those fish are getting into that bite, so it's going to be slow, but they're going to start feeding. That's, again, when I would pull out the shrimp. The shrimp, again, you're working it slow. You're still getting those lazy fish into the feeding. But as they get more aggressive, they're going to want to be eating these more. And shrimp are actually a nocturnal species mostly. They like to move during the night. They have actually, as you can see them, I've seen them swimming around at night. Their eyes, I think, are more reactive to night. So shrimp is definitely a good call for night fishing because they're more active during that late afternoon time, which is when fish are going to be targeting them. You always want to use the bait. The bait you're using has to match your environment, has to match the bait they're eating, and it has to match the time frame that they eat that bait in. Those are three bigs that you have to match. And once you find a spot and you really learn it, you can really dial in those three bigs and figure out what they want to eat and really get on some fish really quickly. Now, I want to talk about the weather when you're fishing in flats. We all know that in the middle of the day, it's hot, especially in Florida where I live. It gets super hot and most of the fish just die down. The thing about flats is that there's no mangrove cover around. You're literally on open water. Those fish, unfortunately, really have no place to go except for grass patches, which is why they are important. But during the middle of the day, those fish really just slow down and try and find cover. So during the middle of the day, you really want to find cover. That's where those fish are going to be, whether it's seaweed patches, maybe an island nearby with some mangroves over it. That's where those fish are going to be waiting until the morning and afternoons when the temperatures are lower to actually start feeding. Now, if you have, say, overcast weather, just clouds, no rain, just clouds, that's pretty good because then again, you have nice cover over the water. Water temperature is not going to be as high, and since it's a little murkier, top water baits are not going to be able to be as visible. They're not going to really have time in the reflection of the sunlight to depict whether it's fake or real before they decide to eat it. So during cloudy weather, I would use more topwater bait or a faster moving bait such as the mullets or the paddle tails. Now, say you have a storm coming. Incoming weather system, the high pressure really gets those fish into feeding mode before the rain starts. They want to feed before the storm comes in and turns up the sand. They really want to get all their food and energy in before they take a long break before feeding. Feeding right before storm is one of my most favorite times to fish because those fish are always active before high pressure systems. And what I like to use is, again, paddle tails and shrimp. I wouldn't use the mullet as much as during pre-storm weather because, again, that wind starts rippling. It's harder to see stuff on the surface. So more subsurface baits or live bait is definitely the way to go during rainy weather or pre-storm weather out on the flats. Again, grass patches, highly targeted, but those fish are definitely going to be moving more before a storm, and I would definitely throw artificial or live shrimp or artificial or live swim baits, greenies, pogies, you know what I'm saying. Well, guys, I know this was a short one, but I wanted to get some content out there for y'all. Thank y'all so much for sticking to the end of this video. I hope you learned more about flats fishing. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments, and I will answer them personally with a YouTube short or an Instagram reel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at SummitTheAngler1010, and make sure you, if you're here watching this video on YouTube, please subscribe, leave a like, a comment, a question, anything about fishing flats. I will be very, very grateful and glad to give you an answer. Thank y'all for staying around. God bless y'all. Tight lines.